Hiya and welcome to today's first Craftalong. This is part of the virtual Valentine event. It's been co-hosted by myself and Valcoast Crafters, which is a Facebook group consisting of makers and crafters and sellers and buyers and people interested in craft all over the Fylde coast. There are some wonderfully talented people in our group, so once you've had a look, go over to the group and have a scroll through and see just some of the lovely things that they make. So today's Valentine's Craftalong is paper hearts. I put it as paper hearts, but since then I've sort of expanded it into other materials. I've got some fabric as well, various different things. Just basically we're going to make lots and lots of hearts. So first thing you're going to need is your heart templates. If you don't have these, you can just watch along today, but there is a sheet on the event page that has, you can print out, and then it'll give you all the different shapes of hearts. So my heart templates start with a large one and they go down in size. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I always lose the tiny one because it is very tiny, and the tiny one is number 5. So these are what we're going to use. Apart from this, you need glue, paper, fabric, scissors, and that's about it really. You can get away with just that. So I'm just going to show you a few examples of things I've already done. So you can make just a plain simple heart cut out of some fancy paper. This is scrapbook paper. It's got a bit of script on it. It's got a spray of flowers on it. It's very pretty. And I've also embellished it with a little charm. So that's your basic heart. On top of that, you could then go a step up and you could add other things to it. So for instance, this one is using was it size 2, 3 and 4. And then they're layered up, so you've got a patterned paper on the outside, then a plain, then a different patterned, and then I put a little button in the middle, and it has a little cord hanger on it as well, so you can hang it up. You could also make them in different materials. You could use fabric. This is a fabric heart with felt hearts on top, a little bead there. This is stitched with card inside. If you're using fabric, I would recommend that you line it with some interfacing. This is a lightweight interfacing. One side is smooth and the other side is kind of rough, and the rough side has glue on. So you just place it on a piece of fabric, like on the back of the fabric, and then iron it on so it sticks, and you end up with like that fused to your fabric. What that does is prevent it from fraying when you cut it. You can also use pinking shears to cut the edge of your fabric, and that gives you that nice little zigzag edge if you want something a bit more rusticy looking. Sort of Scandi style. This one is made with felt, so you don't have to worry about it fraying. They're then sewn on with very simple embroidery stitches. This is just a running stitch with a button in the middle, and it's also slightly padded with a bit of quilter's wadding, so that gives it a nice sort of soft feel. Okay, enough talk, let's have a look at getting on with something. As before, I'm going to tip the camera down so you can see what my hands are doing, so just bear with me a second. It just takes a little bit of manoeuvring to get you in the right position. Oops, got a bit tilted there. So you can see my hands. So what you can see on here is some various bits of card. I've been a bit prepared today and cut some out already. But you, depending on the size of your heart, as I said before, these are the craft papers that I've got. And they are a little bit stiffer than normal paper, but they're just not quite stiff enough to hang. So I tend to sandwich 2 hearts between a piece of card. Now this pack I got has got 3 or 4 sheets of each different one in, so you can do the bigger ones. The bigger heart will take up a whole of these. little quarter sheets. The other thing I've got, which if you're just doing, if you don't want to double up, these are double-sided papers, so they have a different pattern on the back. But as you can see, they're quite flimsy, so they might not hang properly. Is that one I did? No, that's a different heart. So, although these are really nice, I would think we're going to go today with sandwiching them with card in between, just to make them a little bit more sturdy, a bit more durable as well. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to start with our biggest template, and I'm going to do a big heart like this one. Okay, so I'm going to use the red card. We only need one piece of card. We need 2 pieces of the outside paper. So let's just, that's no good drawing on that with a red pen, is it? It'll not show. Just draw around your template. Cut it out. You don't need to be too worried about the layering of them, about getting them absolutely precisely on the top of each other, because the card you can trim round afterwards. So if you have a slight overlap, you can trim round it. It's always nice before you start something like this to gather together, if you've got a stash like me of buttons, beads, charms, all sorts of things that I rescue from all over the place, to just have them at hand. Now, because we're using red, I'm going to use, actually I might put 2 different papers, one on each side, so that it looks a bit different. I'm sticking on a red and white theme today, so I'm going to, just bear with me, I'm going to look out another piece of paper, because coming later in the day I'm going to show you how to use them as to make a decoration. So I'm going to stick with red and white as my theme. Let me find another piece of suitable paper. Oh, that's quite pretty. Put those together. If you're cutting 2 hearts out, you can just layer them up. It's easier with the fabric because you can pin it together. But let's try layering these up. So I'm going to use that to draw around, because that's going to be my centre. That way the hearts all look virtually the same. And we'll stack those together and cut round as one. So it's quite simple. I'm going to show you just the big heart. We're going to layer it up. We're going to mat it with some smaller hearts. And then we're going to embellish it with buttons and other beads and other things. So you can do this with any of the sizes. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to start with a big heart. You could start with a smaller heart. Now, because I hate waste, what I've got here, when I've got 2 bigger, slightly bigger pieces, I know they'll be big enough to cut one of the smaller hearts out of. So I'm going to keep those, but I'm going to throw away the other bits. So that's just me, because I can't bear to waste anything. Okay, so we've now got 3 hearts, and we're going to glue them. Now, the best thing to use is a glue stick. If you were watching yesterday, you'll have seen me struggling with wet glue because I didn't have a glue stick. Today I'm going to use the glue gun, just because it's quicker and it dries quicker. And now I've lost my glue sticks. There they are. So I don't know whether you've used one. Oh, I don't know whether you can even see this because it's only got a short cable on it. This is a glue gun. Mine's just a little one. You can get bigger ones. These are the sticks that go in them. And basically what it does is it heats up and melts the glue. And it comes out very, very hot. So you have to be really careful. It's all sticking me together. Because the cable's not very long on this, maybe I can tilt the camera around so you can see what I'm doing. You put the glue stick in and the glue comes out the end like that. And this is very hot now, so you just press the trigger and you can just do a line of glue around it. It's quite good for getting it to get right close to the edges, because like I said before, you're going to stick the other fabric on, so the other paper. Can't think straight these days. It's usually quite a good idea maybe to put something on to protect your cutting mat, because mine's all covered in glue now. And you just glue your layers on. You would probably be better with Pritt Stick for this, I think, because that is a little bit. So try your best. Oops, you see, you can't manoeuvre this very well without burning yourself. So next one I do, I'm going to use a different sort of glue. Right. Now, as I said before, cutting with scissors is not precise. The only way you get a precise cut is if you're using a machine. So what I'm going to do is trim this up now that I've got the glue stuck down. I'm going to just trim off the edges so it looks pretty even all the way around. We don't have much of an overhang. Yeah, you'd definitely be better with glue stick. So that's my first layer, and my second layer I want to be just a plain red heart. So that's one I cut out earlier. So that's the next size down. I'm going to use glue this time. Glue stick's really good for your embellishments. So if you were sticking buttons and beads on it, I'm just going to use some wet glue for now for that layer. Put that on the centre there. I'm just going to do one side with the layering just to show you quickly, and then you can do the other side. So the next thing we want, as I'm doing plain patterned, so this is my next heart, smaller size down, and that's a patterned one. Now you notice I haven't put a hanger on this, and that's because I'm going to show you later on, I'm going to show you different ways to hang them. Stick that on there. So there's our laid up heart. You can leave it like that, or you could add a button to the middle. So I'm just going to show you my tray of buttons. These are all, I've gathered these over the time. I've got stacks of buttons, I've got stacks of beads. So because I'm going with the red and white theme, I either want a red one or a white one. Because that's quite, what you could have done is put maybe like the tiny little heart in the middle. I've lost mine now. Another tiny little heart like that. But I'm not going with that. I'm going to put a large button instead, and I'm going to use a red button. That one, I think. Just a plain red button. And I'm going to use the glue this time because that'll make it a little bit easier. The glue gun, put a big blob of glue on, and then place the button in the centre. And that's basically it. It's very easy. Lovely to do with children. If they're not old enough to cut out, you can cut everything out beforehand and just get them to stick everything together. But as I say, with children, Pritt Stick is the way to go, not a glue gun. So that is the paper heart. I'll show you the fabric heart. I've already done my bit of ironing on of interfacing, and I love these lovely luxurious fabrics, and I buy ridiculously small dresses. If I see like a glamorous red silk dress in a charity shop, I'll pick it up, or curtains or anything like that, just to get the fabrics. Now this is a cotton, a poly cotton. That's a Christmassy fabric, but it's quite nice. It's got a bit of gold glittering, so I thought I'd use that. This is it's got little tiny red, white hearts on red. That's just a piece of spare interfacing. Some more of, this is one of the satins that I acquired. So that's a nice bright pink satin. This is like a gold, like an old pale gold satiny one. Now, I was saying about glamorous dresses. I bought a red satin dress 2 Christmases ago in a size 10. Was very flattered when the lady in the charity shop says, and what are you going to wear it with? Because if you know me, I'm not nowhere near a size 10. But when I was playing with it today, I looked at the other side and I thought, how subtle is that beautiful other side? So it's the other side that I've got upwards. Right. When you're cutting the hearts out, fabric hearts out, again, you want to, if you're not going to stuff them, and again, a piece of card in between is probably a good idea. So we'll do a small heart, I think. In that, here's one I prepared earlier. You could cut 2 out at once. It would make it slightly easier for you. So you just draw 1 heart. And you can draw on the interface, and that's good as well, because it is quite difficult drawing on fabric. If I was doing, that's not stuck very well. If I was just going to do it on fabric, I would, I'm just going to cut this off first to make it easier to manipulate. I would use a chalk pen, French chalk pen. This is the one I use, and it's got chalk in it, so it marks the fabric and then it washes off. So let's draw around that again. And then cut 2 out at once, because we folded it, if you can see. If you find it slipping, you can always put a pin in it. That's what I said. It's easier to pin the fabric hearts than it is to pin the paper together when you, although you can always put a clip on it when you're cutting 2 off. Right, so now I've got 2 lovely satin hearts, and I'm going to pin, this is quite a glamorous one, I'm going to glue them. Be careful with wet glue with this, because it can show through onto your fabric. So I'm going to again use my glue gun, just out of sight. I'm being very careful not to burn myself with it. Stick that down, do a little bit more under there. Sometimes the interfacing can provide a bit of a layer, so you can use a wet glue because it doesn't seep through the interfacing, but you do have to be very sparing with it. And then put the other one on the back. Make sure I get plenty of coverage. You have to work quickly with hot glue because it does set very quickly. And there we go. We've got a little, can you see that little satin heart? If I turn it towards the light, you can see it catching the light. And you don't have to use glamorous fabrics, as I said. You can use this lovely gingham that I made this little heart out of. Cut the edges with the pinking shears. Pinking shears look like crocodiles, yeah. And that gives it a nice rusticy look. The felt, I'm not going to actually show you the felt now, but it's the same principle. You draw around it on your felt. Again, you can use a pen. It doesn't fray. You can just use simple embroidery floss in red and white, or whatever colour scheme you've decided to use, to just sew them together by hand. You don't even need a sewing machine. And you can put a little bit of padding in. You can use a sewing machine if you've got one. If you want to do something more like this one, this is a nice rustic heart because it's made from an old shirt, a plaid shirt, and it's just got a button on. It's very simple, bit of red string, a tight zigzag stitch around the edge, and then just cut with the pinking shears. Very simple. So I hope that's given you some ideas of how to use your papers in different ways in your heart templates. I'll set you up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go now. I'm glad to see there's a few of you watching. I've got Paul watching. He's in Holland. I'm getting quite international. I've got Jen watching. Hiya, Jen. I've got Jane watching as well. So it's a different lot of people from yesterday. At 2 o'clock when I come back, I'm going to be showing you how to put them together to make a decoration. And what I'm going to use, because this is for my Valentine's, is I've got this driftwood stick, and I'm going to hang mine off it. I'm going to use this as a basis for my hanger. You don't have to use a driftwood stick. You can use any sort of tree branch. I would recommend you let it dry out though, so cut it now, make your decoration next week. The other thing I've acquired, and Jen will remember me buying these maybe, wooden knitting needles, and I've used them for hanging macrame from, so that one's actually bored a bit. I don't know how that's happened, but you could use something like that. Nice piece of polished wood, bit of doweling, anything like that, even a coat hanger. So if you want to watch me put it all together, join me again at 2 o'clock. Thanks for watching. I'd appreciate you to leave a comment, or if you actually do it, I've been doing along with me, send me a picture. And don't forget to go over and have a look at all the beautiful items that our crafters make on Filed Coast Crafters. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you later.